Joe Gow and Kerryn Fields are compatriots from Aotearoa New Zealand who both live in Melbourne. As individuals, they have both released albums. Matt with his fourth album, Between Tonight and Tomorrow, released earlier this year. Kerryn with her second album, Water, in 2021. Now they are collaborators, releasing the single Your Heart of Gold earlier this year, and with a new single, Love You Like I Can, and an accompanying tour. Lots to talk about. Hello, Kerryn. Hello, Matt.
Kia ora.
That was great. That intro was great.
Totally. I love that for us.
Well, I like to be comprehensive, you know, like to be comprehensive, give people all the facts, you know, got to give people what they need as well as what they want. So we have both there. I'm going to start. I have not cleared with you whether you have a rhythm in answering questions. So I'm just going to toss out a question and you can both give me an answer or fight over it. When did you become friends?
We're not friends.
Oh, that's so disappointing. Like you act all friendly and stuff on social media.
All an act. Was this being recorded? Oh.
We're actors. When did we become friends? You go, pal. I want to hear it.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago or a few years ago now at a well, you know, we're both playing around the same places, certainly the same city, and we were aware of each other. I think it was, we really became, our friendship really started to blossom when we played a show together at a wonderful venue called the Brunswick Ballroom. And I think it just went from there. We started to play more shows together. We played a lot of shows together off the back of that one. And we just bonded over the things musicians bond over, you know, whether it was COVID or shows or songwriting. And it's been a really natural progression from there. I mean, Kerryn has, if Kerryn had answered this, she would start from a different aspect where she met me at a festival and I ignored her and blah, 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 which is maybe partly true, but not, you know, she spins it into a better tale. But I think that's when we maybe met. Right?
Yeah, it's where we met.
Well, Kerryn, you can now tell that version of the story, particularly the ignoring part. That's very interesting as an origin story.
Well, you know, it's true. We know of each other. We're, you know, you're pals before you're pals, really, in this industry, because you see what the other one's up to and you just kind of go, great. And people would often say, have you heard of Joe Gow? He's another Kiwi. And I'm like, I've never heard that name in my life. So when I saw him at a festival, and yeah, I just said g'day, and Matt was like, hey, and just kept walking, and I was like, hello. I was like, it's me, Kerryn Fields. Yeah. He was like, yep, got that.
You could have tossed out. Sorry, what did you say, Matt?
I was awestruck and very shy.
Yeah, Matt couldn't handle my light. Look, it just paused. It was
well, like, Kerryn, what you could have said was, don't you know who I think I am? It's always a good line.
Yeah. So cute. No, it was one of those things, you know, we wait so long to be billed on the same festival together. You watch each other from afar and you just get that chance to just go g'day, and then you hope that at some point you might actually, you know, the creative stars align and you get to hang out as pals. And for us, that happened during the pandemic, and for many reasons. Like, it's such a layered relationship because of where we come from and the songs we play and, you know, just our life stories and all the wonderful things that happen when you're finally in the same room together and you're like, right, cool, let's do this. Let's go all in.
So I'm interested, after that first show you played together, when Matt, you said you kept playing shows, was that on purpose? You realized that actually on stage there was a synergy there that should be built together again?
Yeah, it was a combination of our doing. We put shows together and then people started to put us together. They thought that we worked well together. They put us in the lineup. They sort of became aware that we were friends. They were aware that we were playing shows together. So it was a combination of the two things. And it sort of went from there. It just was very natural. In fact, it was so natural that it's sort of hard to unpack because it was some of it we planned and then some of it we just ended up on bills together.
Yeah, it was kind of quirky because people who were booking us started to just kind of expect that you were going to be in the same room together. It was almost just this weird thing that happened, and we were just always, what we were choosing and what we weren't choosing, it just happened to throw us together. So, and COVID provided those opportunities where everyone was starving for shows and you know, for everything. So we had to band together a lot to come together to do shows as one, you know, because no one was being, oh, it's my show, I'm just gonna, you know, I've got the week off lockdown. If you kind of won the lottery of lockdown and got to do a show, everyone showed up and did it with you. And that was a part of our relationship as well, was being really immersed in the community here, and everyone who had something on, you were just there for each other. And that was such a really sweet, beautiful way of cultivating a community. And I think Matt and I were sort of in the middle of that too. So lots of layers to our friendship.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like your collaboration as songwriters and now recording together evolved somewhat naturally from being on stage together. So I'm wondering at which point in the playing together you sort of went, there's something here that we should create, not just be present and play our own music. We actually need to create together.
We're just really passionate songwriters, and I think that's what clicked off stage, is our chats about songwriting and music brought us together to sort of that real gentle, I'll send you an idea, this is what I'm working on, without thinking it would be a collaboration, really. Not from what I thought. It was just kind of like, here's someone who I might be able to share some really vulnerable, raw stuff with, and go, what do you think? And it just kind of came from there. And Matt sent me an idea for a song called Black Sand. And the funny thing is I was writing a song called Black Sand. And so he sent me this idea, and I just came back in 30 seconds with the chorus and went, there you go. And we both went, oh, this is great.
Yeah. And that's creative kismet, I guess.
Yeah, we didn't plan it. It was just like that's a thing.
It was really natural. Certainly that example of the song Black Sand, which has ended up being the anchor for the entire record. But you know, the single that you're talking about, Love You Like I Can, we were in a room, Bakehouse, very famous studio rehearsal space, and that was an idea that I had lying around, and Kerryn took the idea, ran with it. And you know, we'll probably end up talking about this song in particular in a minute, but there's another example of how easy it was. Yesterday we were trying to fix the song here in my apartment, and so we just worked on it for a couple hours, and I feel it came together really well. And so even when it's a more difficult song like the one I talked about yesterday, you know, we'd had trouble, you know, Kerryn had a little bit, she's like, I'm not quite sure of the direction. So we sat down together and go, well, let's look at it together. And then there it was. So I find, to summarize sort of our songwriting relationship, it's very easy, very natural. It's never really, things seem to come together very easily for us. And that's not always the case when you collaborate with people. You never know how it's going to go. And we certainly didn't expect it, but I would say that pretty much all the songs on the record came together quite, you know, really easily, right, Kerryn?
Yeah. I think we commented on it a lot earlier on, and just kind of went, I've never had this ever. I've never felt like this or been, you know, this is huge for us. You know, just to go there's an idea and be like, there you go. And, it's been just so special, and certainly challenged us both as individuals and musicians and songwriters to just be the best we can be. And it's such a lovely journey with Matt as a songwriter for that reason, because you never feel like you're up against a wall or trying to squeeze a song out. It was just like, shall we write a song about this, and you know, or here's an idea, and it just goes, there you go, there's a song. And it's so lovely. It's a real pleasure. So that will really shine, I think, in that record, because neither of us would have done it if we had to if it was hard. You know, we don't need to. We just carry on plodding along.
We don't have the time.
We don't have time to start a whole new world, but it was like, this is good. So, and you're from New Zealand, Matt, so I was like, let's go home. You know.
But I suppose there has to be a point where you realize you trust each other to work together, because as you said, Kerryn, you know, those vulnerable moments you're showing to each other with ideas, that gets received positively, or at least with no judgment, and that's a moment of starting to trust someone. But it feels a little like you instinctually trusted each other at a certain point. So I'm wondering if you actually realized when that was, or you just suddenly, you're in it and you're thinking, oh, okay, well, we're flowing along like eagles in currents here.
Well, I think, again, coming back to, we knew of each other, so I'd heard Kerryn's work. I knew it was really good, so I wasn't concerned, unless she has a ghostwriter or something that I wasn't aware of. But so I was like, okay, I've heard this record, these 2 records, I know they're good. She can obviously write. And then we started, and I'm thinking, let's see how, it was more to see how her writing would work on some of my ideas and vice versa, whether they would mesh. So it turned out that it worked really well. But so yeah, there's definitely trust there, because in fact, almost like the idea we had to work on yesterday is almost too much trust, because I was like, you'll be fine, just go do it, you know. And I was like, actually,
I don't want to do it on my own.
Yeah, I was like, you'll be fine, and I trust you. Just figure it. You know, you'll figure it out. Yeah, but then we ended up doing it, figuring it out together. But you know, there were some things that I think most of the songs are really collaborative. But there's some stuff that is more Kerryn's concept, and some that's more mine. So in that sense as well, there's that trust. Like, she can sort of start building it over there, and I'm like, yeah, this is good. That'll work for the record. You know, there's examples of that, and vice versa. So yeah, there's a lot of trust, I think, in the relationship, certainly in regards to the writing aspect.
I mean, you have the stories you want to tell as solo performers that you have both told, because you have albums behind you. I'm wondering if there are different stories you've chosen to tell as collaborators, or just different stories that actually, or different aspects of life that came up when you were writing together that you hadn't considered writing about before.
Yeah, I mean, completely. Yeah, I mean, Kerryn can expand on it, but completely. I mean, I don't know if I've written about many of these concepts before, but it all ties into the theme of the record. Yeah, like Your Heart of Gold is an example of friendship and love and memories. I don't think I've personally written about that myself, but yeah.
And Kerryn, for you?
Yeah, we bring out we bring out something in one another that's just really real. And I remember early on, I mean, the trust for me happened pretty instantly when we were chucked on straight on air without having really chatted or hung out, and we had to sing on each other's songs, and Matt was really beautiful in how he approached the song with no rehearsal, and I in turn, you know, sang on his song, and I felt like, oh, that was really, really special, you know. So from there on, it was quite easy to relax as a bigger part of yourself, like, you know, because you can just let those guards down as a musician and just go, oh, I've just got a pal here who understands this journey and knows how to respect a song, and in turn I give the same. So to expand on our characters and then explore the love we have for each other and our really special bond, and the bond home with New Zealand. And then, you know, there's just so many different layers of that trust and unpacking with each other that it just feeds this glorious relationship as songwriters. So what we tend to write about is, you know, the sort of striking look at love and all of its different angles, from the really, really hard conversations. Like yesterday's song is like, we're not shying away from anything when it comes to these topics. You've got Your Heart of Gold, which is this glorious, you know, innocent almost love song. And then we go into these places where it's like, oh God, that's really real. And you can't, you know, you've got to be really sure of yourself as a solo artist to give those really personal narratives away on your own, really stripped back. But when you've got your buddy right next to you, it becomes, you know, more of this sort of, you can maintain a little bit more of a boundary of your, you know, your true self, and you kind of, you know, you kind of share the vulnerability rather than standing up there on your own going, here's another time it didn't work.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I feel anyway. It's just really, yeah. I mean, we both love music so much that neither one of us would compromise, a song or an album or a tour. It's all about just getting the best out of it for each other. We're true creatives in that way, and that trust and respect is so cemented. So we don't have to worry about it when we walk through the door.
It's not always easy to walk that path, though, is it? To be committed to art like that, because so many things can go wrong. It's not easy being an artist in the world, trying to get gigs, all those sorts of things. So I guess the inherent understanding you have with each other would help. But I wonder if it's also helped you both hold your nerve with your separate work, or not hold your nerve so much as maybe that is what I mean, because there are doubts. One can doubt that one's on the right path, or wanting to go on with certain things.
Yeah, well, we're really supportive of each other's creative endeavors in and outside of the Joe Gow and Kerryn Fields project, and we look to work in each other's worlds and support each other in different ways. An example of that recently is my Closer to Tomorrow EP, that Between Tonight and Tomorrow reprise, which I know we chatted about. So for instance, Kerryn edited the video to that, and also in regards to that project, I did a live show in studio, which I believe you saw, and that was initially Kerryn's concept. Actually, she filmed on that day too. So those are just two of the many examples of support outside of this sort of collaboration that we have. And I think that moving forward, when this project's done and we look to Kerryn's next solo project, it'll be the same, vice versa with helping Kerryn. And we obviously discuss her work, and I've heard ideas for her new record. So yeah, it's really nice to have that support as an ear to lend, and someone who really understands. I think one of the great things about our friendship is that I have many friends and Kerryn has many friends, but when you have someone that comes from where you come from and does the same things that you do and lives in the same place you live and is going through some of the same things, you almost don't have to talk about these things because they're all understood. Mm-hmm. So you focus on the upper echelon, like really talk about the art and the creativity and all the fun stuff, or all the really dark stuff that as well, because you understand all the levels below, where you may have to explain those levels to someone else who doesn't understand, perhaps about booking shows and tours and logistics and working with sound engineers and et cetera, et cetera. So we sort of do that for each other, and a lot of it's probably unsaid, to be honest. So we just sort of assume these roles because we know what needs to get done, which I think has allowed us to excel and move this project forward at such a pace.
Well, it has been at a pace, and it's also a project that has a separate musical identity to your individual work. And so I'm interested in how, and maybe Kerryn, this is a question for you, how that sound evolved, whether it was conscious in the writing of the songs that you were going to have a different sort of sound to your solo work, or whether it was just there. And again, an example of you two trusting each other as creators, that you just allowed it to emerge and be what it was going to be.
It was very intentional in the most playful way. I think we took all our toys to the sandpit, and I know Matt's work very well, and he knows my work very well. And we basically looked at our common loves between our two catalogues and went, what is really strong between the two of us? And that's acoustic instruments with a real Appalachian folk driven sound. And we decided from the get-go that was all we were going to use on these records, because I love and work a lot with electric, and also, so does Matt, and Rhodes and Hammond, and, lots of other great instruments that bring so much to our solo bodies of work. And this was an opportunity to just go really acoustic and really ragged and and hear the instruments in the room and hear one another. And that was just from the very first song. I felt like, well, when we were writing Your Heart of Gold, and it just went, this will work. That's how it felt to me. We both went, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And then as we continued to write the body of work, it became a bit easier as well, because we're not going, oh, well, maybe we'd use this on that, or we'd use this. It's like, these are our instruments. This is our direction. This is the genre, and just write your heart out. And it worked so well.
Yeah. And you both, sorry, Matt, you go.
I remember the moment, actually, because for me, it's always something on my mind from a production standpoint. So I was concerned. I was really happy with how our songs were going in the initial phase, Black Sand. And I think it was No Trace as well, right, Kerryn, which is another
right
song. So we had these two, and I demoed them. We demoed them, but when I say I had them on the basis on my computer. And we were happy with them because we felt they were good songs, but it wasn't, as Kerryn said, to Your Heart of Gold. And that happened to be a folk Appalachian style song. And we thought, oh, this is it. This is our sound. So now we just have to implement this across the record. And the songwriting will be diverse enough that it will give variation. But if we can paint within these parameters, it sets a really interesting challenge. I think for us as musicians, we've never done all acoustic records. You've always been able to go, you know what, I'll just get that Telecaster and that'll flesh out that bit, it'll lift that chorus. But we don't have that now. So it really does allow you to find new challenges, and it's really exciting sonically. So yeah, that's, and to sort of come back to your question, that's totally different to our records, like totally different.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff that I have is all electric. You know, certainly on Break, Rattle and Roll, that's just a very electric record. And I've seen Kerryn's shows, and she has pedal steels, and but this one, I just think it'll really shine like this. Well,
it already has been shining. And you are both, I was going to continue an analogy there and go on about, shining voices or whatever. That's a bit twee. I was going to say, I'm going to say you're both fantastic singers with very distinctive voices, actually. So it's quite identifiable, Kerryn, when you're singing, and Matt, when you are. That's, to have two strong identities like that, singing together doesn't always work, especially because you know what you like, how you're going to perform. But it really does work on your recordings. I'm wondering if that's an extension of what happened when you started to play live together, that actually you learned how to sing together. Was there any adjustment that you needed to make in order to sing successfully with each other?
I'm going to say that there's always little techniques and things that we love about singing together. Like, we've always been front people, so to take a step back and do harmonies and embellishments and just be a support person is like, this is fun. But we definitely, not for a second, not in my experience of our friendship, gone like, oh, I'll change or I'll sing like this. It was just like, this is how I sing. And Matt was like, I sing like this. And the response was, that sounds good. So that was it. And the rest of it, which makes it so much easier for us to fine tune things and to play and to get really good and craft the togetherness of our sound, because we didn't have to really like adjust each other. And again, we wouldn't have done it. I just think, honestly, we would have just loved each other and gone, love your music, love what you do, and, cool. But every step of the way was like, and that works too. And also that works. And that's great. And that is also working. So yeah, really cool. And I've been singing on Matt's back catalogue from, he's got a lot of duets or parts that are really defined. And so I'm having a lot of fun playing around with that. And Matt assumes a different character inside some of the solo stuff that he's sung on of mine. And it's just really lovely. There's never been a moment where you go like, oh, don't sing on that. That didn't work. Yeah.
In fact, as a musician as well, for both of us, I think we've grown a lot in this project. I've learned a lot, been able to assume different roles, myself as a guitarist, I get to be a lead guitarist in a lot of this project. If you see us live, Kerryn plays a lot more percussion than she does in her solo project, which is really cool. I think that surprises a few people, that she's like shaking things, playing the harmonica, and it's really cool. I think for both of us to sing backing vocals has been a really exciting challenge. And then to assume, like, sometimes Kerryn will write a melody and then I'll have to sing it, but obviously digest it and sing it how I would sing it, but it's being created by someone else. So that's obviously a unique challenge. I know we've both faced that, and that's been really exciting. An example of that would be Your Heart of Gold, the first single. I think Kerryn sings the first verse, I sing the second verse. So I think Kerryn wrote that melody and I had to frame my lyrics to hers, whereas the new one, Love You Like I Can, I wrote those verses and then Kerryn had to get her phrasing to match sort of how I would sing. And so those are like complete opposites doing the same thing. We both had to learn each other's melodies. And that's really fun, actually.
I find it really interesting that both of you approach it as exciting to learn how to do new things, play with each other. And maybe that, like, I suspect it's your general attitude towards things, rather than just being specific to this project. But it's another reason why you were so perfect to work with each other. It wasn't one of you going, I don't really want to have to learn how to sing harmonies to this person, or I don't want to sing harmonies at all. It's actually you both thinking, this is great. I get to try this new thing and see what happens and make something new out of it.
Yeah, it's really special, because it takes a very strong musician to stand next to Joe Gow and hold space, and the same in return for me. It's just the truth. We're very strong front people, and so I don't think there was anyone asking me to play or sing backing vocals, because I'm 6'3" and just pour energy out. And so if you're a front person trying to sort of, I've never been a bridesmaid, like, let's put it that way. So Matt's like, I got this. You'll be fine. So we have that little camaraderie as well, where we're just really comfortable in our skin. And so, you don't mind us being like, I love sitting back and just putting hundreds and thousands and sprinkles on things. This is such a glorious way to play, and that's what we do. We play music, so we don't ever forget that innocence of creativity and play. And when it all gets too serious, you're like, don't forget to just have fun.
Yeah,
I think what's even more exciting for me is maybe even the next one or two singles that we bring out after this one. One of us won't even really be singing lead. It's not a duet. It'll be one of us singing and the other one backing. I really like that. I think it breaks that concept, like we have to sing 50% of each song. All this, it's just so dumb. We just make good songs, and if I think Kerryn's voice fits better, then she'll sing it. That's that simple. So the one we're doing yesterday, I think Kerryn that's her lead, and I think she said, like, oh, you should sing this line. I'm like, I don't think really, no, maybe I'll sing here a little bit, but we really just do what the song needs, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah, we both love the thing in the middle very much, which is cool.
Well, I think that idea of doing what the song needs, because you're in service to the song rather than the other way around.
Yeah, totally. And it's great to find that kindred connection with another songwriter, that you can step into full immersion of your, self-narrative and your own story, or you can step back and just go, let's just write a glorious song about this thing and add these elements in. And, it really is like just playing and playing in the sandpit and going, what should we build next?
I think you're probably going to make quite a few people jealous, the two of you, in terms of, this sounds like a very fun process. I'm there going, I would quite like to have that collaborative process. Why can't I do that? Because I do think it's rare to both approach it at the same point in your creative development or maturity, or whichever word you like to use? You know what I mean? You've met each other where you are, and it happens to be at a really similar place.
Yeah.
Kerryn mentioned the other day that, I think, was it you said that you didn't realize that you'd been looking for this, I think, and I was the same. Or maybe I did realize, like, I had been looking actually for that type of collaboration, but you know, now that we have it, I'm very aware of how special it is, and it is rare. You know, these things are rare, especially when they're not contrived and formulaic. You know, this is very natural. We've obviously chatted about how we're from the same place and now live in the same place and do the same thing in a similar genre, and so yeah, it really has worked really well. But hopefully that comes across in the songs, and I think you can hear that in that new single "Love You Like I Can." There's a lot of push pull. It's really cheeky, and that it displays another side to our relationship, and that's kind of what our record hopefully eventually will be. It will show you a bunch of different sides to us, and then some other sides to maybe relationships in general, and perhaps I think we cover the full spectrum, don't we, Kerryn?
Yeah, we go there. We go there for sure.
Well, and I will now talk about the song. So we'll start with the most recent song, which is "Love You Like I Can," which is short but action-packed, and it has a different yet complementary energy to Your Heart of Gold, I thought, because I was listening to them both thinking, yeah, very, very different musical identities, but they belong to the same brace of songs, even though a brace implies that there are more songs, which there will be to come. I'm wondering if you set the intention for the energy of that song before you recorded it, or while it was being written. Did you know it was going to be this really muscular, action-packed song? Matt's to answer.
It's mine to answer. I felt the song had something special, and my guitarist, longtime guitarist Andy, who also works with us in this project, he's the one of the Dead Leaves who has come across to this project. He loved the song, and he's wanted me to release the song in a different form for a little while, because I had one of the ideas, but for whatever reason we didn't quite think it was there. But I knew it had potential, and then when Kerryn heard it, she felt it had potential, but it needed something else. So what was initially a harmonica break and a really blues trad cross harp break, Kerryn felt we could turn into a chorus that would expand on the whole push pull, and that's really what we worked on here in Melbourne and took the song to the next level. And I have a really objective engineer who'd heard the song, and he was like, "Oh, it's all right, Matt. I think you've done better," to the initial idea. And then he heard the idea after Kerryn and I had worked, and he was like, "Yeah, that's it, Steve. That's it. That's the idea there." So it was a really obvious demonstration of how our collaboration is greater than the sum of the parts. Like, I thought I had a good song, and I think hopefully people will feel now we have a great song.
Because Your Heart of Gold is a glorious song, and so that was a great announcement of your partnership as well. And you released it while you were on tour in New Zealand. It was a multi-date tour, and I'm interested in whether that song evolved while you were performing it, and if so, are you then in a bit of a bind of thinking, well, we have this recorded version, but now we've kind of evolved it as time's gone on, maybe we need to revise it? Kerryn, maybe you.
No, I think like we spent, Jan, Feb, early March together on our first tour of Aotearoa New Zealand, and obviously we spend an extreme amount of time together not on tour. So we were really present in Your Heart of Gold. We practiced and really, really sang this out. We really challenge each other to do the best that we can and show up as best we can. And I think with that song, we really did the hard work, to be honest. Like, we really did the hard work, and we took it to radio stations the morning after we'd finished the next chorus or whatever was going on, because we were gonna get this right. And if it meant being really brave and quirky and playing it raw, it meant that we could fast track how good we could make this. And so I don't feel that we like it evolved as a song. I think you always sit better in the pocket when you play it live, and you get the personality of it, you know, sits really richly. But I just really think we really, really did do that work to find that true sound or the true nature of the song, and went, there it is, cool. So yeah, it just got better and easier to play and more joyous to present. That's all.
Yeah, right. And it is a joyous song, but so is Love You Like I Can. So I am very interested to hear the other songs, particularly because, Matt, you keep talking about the song you wrote yesterday. It's like, well, you're just teasing a new song now. It's not even recorded.
No, I mean, the beauty is, and you've got great ears, so because you've heard these two, and you've said they do have links. Those two were recorded on the same day at the same time with the same players in the same room, and they were recorded really quick. Like, we just set up the studio. There were still builders like outside with, like, we were like, close the doors, play it.
We had to tell them to stop working for like,
we did.
Stop drilling because we've got to record.
I think we had to record because we were going on tour and we needed a song.
What's the
song? You know, and I think the whole time is just a blur. The crazy time. But
funny.
Those two songs in particular, they were recorded on the same day, as I said. And I think that's helped bind them together in terms of the sound, because there are quite a few differences. This new one's only 2 minutes long, and it's really upbeat and full of energy. And you know, the other one is a little bit sweeter. I think as we delve into the record, one thing you'll notice, we probably will find that we've been lulling you into a little bit of a false sense of security, because there is a darker element to the record as well. It does go there a little bit.
A lot,
yeah. But we started on this end of the record. We gotta welcome you in and say, come in, it's all good, you know. And then we lock the doors.
Yeah. And then it's like, it's all sad now. It's horrific. This is what real love looks like. We just,
Kerryn, take the mic, ruin these people.
Well, and Kerryn does have that kind of voice. I've got to say, on your albums, Kerryn, it is a voice that can ruin people in the best possible way.
Yeah, many a person have told me that after a show, like that I haven't cried in 25 years, and it's like, yeah, we've got that ability to do that. Certainly, you know, we're not afraid of pain, not afraid of heartbreak, but we don't live there. You know, it's never without hope or without, you know, some kind of thread of light. And we both share that as well as songwriters too, that we really feel things really deeply. We're both really, really, you know, deep thinkers and deep feelers. So if we need to go somewhere, we can go there with integrity, but also care for ourselves and for the people listening to the song, with a sense of, you know, songwriting that doesn't hurt for too long. That's what I hope anyway. You know, music is such a great medicine for the people, and even as dark as it might get, we both still have that connection to, you know, wanting to carry on, which is a song on the record.
You're doing a lot of great forward announcing for this album.
We all said it was some great banter, so you'll be laughing in between you crying. Don't worry, people. Like,
yeah, that's a whole other side to our relationship. That I know I'm hilarious, but I had no idea that Joe Gow is this dark comedy horse. So I'm like bantering up a storm, and old Joe Gow chimes in with something, and I'm like, you don't get that from Mr. Americana front row. Like, that's hilarious. There's been a few times I've been genuinely stumped at the banter. Like, I'm just gonna play the damn song. It's so good. I love that. I love that you get to be a little bit more cheeky and a bit more, you know, that side of you that's really funny, that you don't get when you're being Matt Joe Gow necessarily frontman in the Dead Leaves.
Well, presumably Matt enjoys it as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we said, it's just an opportunity to try different things. Kerryn and I, we like to be seated, mirror each other. Whereas, I like to dance around on stage. So this is very different for me sitting on a stage. But I think we've tried at every aspect and every angle to give people something different to the Kerryn Fields or the Matt Joe Gow project, because otherwise people go, what is this? Like, why would I could just go see, Matt Joe Gow. Why do I need to see this? Like, well, they're different. And I think the more people hear of us, the more people will come to realize that.
Mm-hmm. Now, people do want to see you sitting down performing. There's my segue. You are going on tour for a few dates over the next few weeks, including the Kangaroo Valley Folk Festival. And I'm wondering if a festival performance requires a different sort of ramping up energy to like a smaller enclosed venue.
Yes is like the short answer to it, but it I don't know, man. I feel like we really bring a special energy to all the shows, like whether you're sitting in a house concert or you're taking to a festival, our shows just really naturally energetic, and it's got a lot of integrity with what we do, so we don't have to think about it, and it translates beautifully to very large audiences and then really small intimate audiences as well. And that's because we have that friendship and we have that trust with each other, so the audience immediately just relaxes. So even in a large festival, we can hold you all because you're just hanging out with your best pals, Matt and Kerryn, and we're spinning yarns and telling lots of big stories and singing songs, and so you can take that to whatever size crowd you like. But Kangaroo Valley is interesting because I've played as myself, and there are festivals like that where Matt has played or I've played, and so there's this idea of you already, so there's a little bit of that consideration to go, these folks have seen what I do solo and they have that sort of affinity or their affection or what Matt has done solo, and so we've got to be a bit gentle as well with our beautiful fans who might be a little bit like, please don't let me down. Like, please still let me love you. And we've had a little bit of that too. People going, are you still the same person, that I'm going to get when I come and see you? And so far, so good.
Well, I would imagine so. And so I would also imagine that once there are more songs released and the album that is in the works, there will be another tour as well. So into 2024. Yeah, I imagine you plan ahead.
Yeah, you're right. We've toured off the back of both these singles, and both tours are really extensive. The last one was like 30 shows. This one, if you can include into January with like Signet, Illawarra Fest, like this is another 15, 20 shows. So after these two singles, we're probably not going to tour the next singles as relentlessly, and we'll let it simmer to the record, which we hope to be out, early next year, maybe March, April, something like that, and we'll tour off the back of that into at least Australia and New Zealand, and then further abroad. So we've definitely got plans to take it out there as far as we can, and give the project all the love that it deserves. So we and it's actually easier on the road with the two of us than it is just the one of us, or than it has been for me in the past with like 5 guys. Like the two of us, it seems to work quite well, I find.
Yeah, well, we've spent an incredible amount of time together in each other's worlds, and it's like, wow, this is another side of your friendship that you can't really rely on until you are on the road 7 weeks deep, and going, we are still in this time.
Yeah, that's true. You don't know how tough that person is. It turns out Kerryn's very tough, like very hardy.
It's true.
It's hard, like it's hard.
And I can cook. Yeah, well,
can cook. Yes, she can. She can cook very well. Honestly, we just discussed this yesterday. We did 10 dates in a row, day after day after day after day after day, in different cities and stuff, and in the middle of winter, you can get pretty run down. So you wonder, is this person going to survive?
But you did, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a good test of any friendship when you're tired and hungry. I think that's actually when you probably see people at what's going to be their worst. So if you can make it through that and not lose your temper at each other, you're doing very well.
Yeah, again, we really love what we do, and we appreciate at the core of this is something really rare and something that's worth nurturing. So it's very easy in this industry, and the pressure and the miles and the financial difficulties or whatever comes up, to allow that to take up all the space. But we don't want that. That's not what we want from our careers and our connections. So it's that kind of moment of going, well, I could let this take up the whole room right now, but I'm going to try really hard to, again, nurture that thing in the middle that we're doing. So much comes up. I think honestly, we would need to take 3 months off to just reflect on how dense our experiences have been together this year. But every time things get really tough, we are always there for each other and just think, this is really what is going to make this project remarkable, because we chose very intentionally to do all of these dates so we could launch the project properly and give people a strong idea of what this is. And so we could work on that side of ourselves as touring artists and performing artists. And it's very intentional to say yes. And it's just like any relationship where you show up and you say, like, all right, like, this is what I'm going to do really well. And I want this to work really well. This is really important to me now. It's become, as Matt said, bigger than the sum of our parts. So it's something to be nurtured and cared for. So I think we really keep that strong.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also what I heard from you, Kerryn, is you talking about the audience feeling safe with the songs. I know that Matt's such a considerate performer as well, and it is such a compliment to the audience to think about them. Actually, it's not just, I want to get up here and play my songs. Actually, I'm presenting a show. We want to do the right thing by you. You've turned up to see us, so the audience can only benefit. And so I think it's such an exciting project. When I heard the two of you were making music together, I thought, well, that's going to be really interesting for one thing. I would disagree about saying it's greater than the sum of your parts, because the parts are pretty good. But, open to interpretation.
My mom was even like, she's like, I've seen you in all of your variations. And she's like, this is good.
So what? How does one take that from one's mother? I don't know.
No, just so well, she could have said the opposite, and she's the kind of mum that would, she's the kind of mum that would be like,
could have been like Matt's engineer and said, not your best.
Yeah, we love Chris. He's very, if you need anything honest and dealt with, just call Chris. But no, it's lovely when you say greater than the sum of its parts. It's just, it's got a space of its own. And I think that's what's so important, is that it really does stand up on its own. We're not leaning on one another, or there's no one person doing more than the other, or writing or presenting. It's really just, hands in the middle and let's go. And the audience, we really love our fans. Like, we're touring artists. Not a lot of people know what it's like to be a full-time touring artist, and you cultivate relationships with your audiences in a profoundly deep way, because they show up town after town, night after night, and you can't take that for granted. So the joy when we walk out and there's a full room is so real. We're like, it'll never be old for us. It's like, again, people have come out and chosen to share their precious time with us. Let's really make this magic. And every time we feel like everyone just gets a dose of that, and it's why we do it.
Yeah. Well, you are touring Sydney, Victoria. There's various dates on your respective websites, so I will post those and people can go to those. I've had you talking for quite a long time, so I will stop talking to you now, because hopefully I will talk to you when there are future releases. But both songs are wonderful, complementary, as I said. I'm sure the shows will be amazing. So Matt, Joe Gow, Kerryn Fields, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.